Hi everybody, this is Julie Bean with Beadaholique, and I have a really fun project for today. Today we are going to be making a kitty cat bead woven ring. So here it is on my finger. It actually combines peyote bead weaving and brick stitch. It's actually quite easy to make and it doesn't require a lot of ingredients, but here's those little ears that you see for the kitty cat. And you can make it in whatever color you want. For the project here, I have black Miyuki Delica size 11.0, but for the video, I'm gonna use a bead, which is gonna be a little easier to see on camera here for the stitching. So it's a fun project. You can make it to whatever ring size you want. You're gonna be using some thread. Now this comes in black or white. I like the black for the black cat, so I use 0.006. I would not go any thinner than that because you do want the structure to be there for this petite of a little ring. If you go thinner, it might be a little bit too floppy. So you're gonna need 34 inches of that, which I've already pre-strung onto a size 10 beading needle. You'll need a pair of scissors, a little random stopper bead, and your color. Like I said, I used black for the actual project, but for the video, I'm gonna use this really pretty blue. But here's the little ring with the little cat ears. Okay, so I'm going to spread out my beads. And it does not take that many beads, which is nice. So we're going to put on our stopper bead first. To do that, just pick up your stopper bead, slide it on down until you are about, give yourself at least 6 inches, maybe a little bit more because you're going to have to rethread your needle onto that end when you're all done with your project, and so that you can tie off your thread. Okay, so we're going to just go through that stopper bead. Basically, you're making a loop, just like that. You're not tying a knot because you want to be able to pull that stopper bead off. So we are just going to be doing even count peyote bead weaving. So we got 2 beads. If you want your band to be thicker, just go ahead and add more columns when you start here. I'm going to make it thin with just 2 beads. So we got the 2 beads on, and then we're going to pick up a 3rd bead, and we're going to go through what was the first bead we strung on, but in the opposite direction. Okay, and what you're going to do is I'm going to scooch this back down towards the stopper bead. And I want the beads to sit like this. So it's almost like you've got a little upside down triangle. Okay. So this is what you have so far. And now what you're going to do is you're going to pick up another bead. And this is just the peyote bead weaving that we're doing. Pick up another bead and go up through that bead, which is kind of hanging out right there. Okay. Pull it through. And now this is what you have. So you see it's exiting that top bead. Pull your tail off to the side. You don't want to accidentally catch that. Okay, now you're going to pick up another bead. And you're just going to go back down through that bead right there. You can see it starts to get a staggered effect to it. So pull that down, and now this is what you have. Okay, we're going to pick up another bead. We're just making the band at this point. We're not making the ears yet. And this is just standard even count peyote. It just is only 2 columns wide, which is a lot thinner than I think what we normally do when we do our peyote projects. So it works up really quick. It just does feel to me a little bit strange because I've done a lot of peyote, but I've never done peyote this thin before. So it's weird not to be going through more beads, but it's what is needed for just this thin little band. Okay, and you're going to just keep doing this until you've got about 3/4 of an inch. So once you've got about 3/4 of an inch, you're going to stop and we're going to add the ears. We're going to add the first ear. So just keep adding your beads in your rows while you get some length to your band. Okay, I've got somewhere between 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. It doesn't have to be exact, but we're going to add our first ear. And to do that, we are going to do a little brick stitch. So we're going to pick up 2 beads. You want to be exiting the top here. So this is what I'm calling my top. You see all these little thread bridges. So what you're going to do is you have 2 beads on your needle. Here's the first thread bridge right here, if you can see that, between those 2 beads. You're not going to go under it, you're going to go under the second one. Okay, so we're under the second thread bridge. Pull your needle through. Okay, you see what your little beads just did. Now you're going to go up through that first bead right there and pull. Now you're going to go back down through the bead next to it and pull, and go up through that first bead again and pull. And now these should be sitting on top of your peyote. We're going to add 1 more bead. So I got 1 bead on my needle, and I'm going to go under the very next thread bridge over and pull. Okay, and then I'm going to go up through that bead again. And pull, and then kind of push them down into place. Okay, so now I'm exiting this bead right here. I'm exiting what was the 3rd bead, and I'm going to pick up 2 more beads, just like so. And again, we're going to look at our thread bridges. So I'm not going to go through the first thread bridge right here, but I am going to go under the second thread bridge. So you can see where that is. And we're going to pull. And we're going to go up through that first bead again. And we're going to pull. Now we're going to go down through the bead next to it. And up through that other bead that we just placed. And we're going to pull like so. And now we need 1 more little bead for our first cat ear. Okay, so on this one, it's real simple. We're just exiting the bead on one side. Right, see that from the top down. And we're just going to go to the bead over. We're going to go through it and the bead below it. And we're going to pull. And that's just going to sit up top there. So we have like a little triangle for our ear. Okay, so now we have to continue on our band so that we can create a little gap between the 2 ears. So what you want to be doing is you want to work your way down through your beads so you're eventually coming out this bead right here, the one that's a little bit indented, because that's where you would have left off if you had just continued your bead weaving and not paused to make an ear. So it doesn't really matter how you get to that bead, as you just weave your thread in. So I'm just going to go work my way down like so, and now I'm going to go up through here. Okay, I'm almost there. And I want to go through this one, and this is where I would have originally been all along if I didn't pause. Okay, so there we go. We got our cat ear. Okay, and we're exiting that bead that we wanted to exit. We're going to pick up 1 bead. Okay, go down through the next bead that was in the original band part. And now we are back to regular peyote bead weaving to create the little gap between the two ears. And this is really a personal preference. You can have a large gap, you can have a small gap. My gap on the ring example I did was, I think, 8 rows. And then you'll see in a moment, we end up backtracking a little bit to make the ear. So you can make yours as long or as wide or as not wide as you like. I'm just gonna keep doing it here. And if you end up where it's a little bit loose, like you see a little gap, all you have to do is just pull your beads and tighten it up. There you go. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more and then I'll show you how to start the second ear, and the process will be the exact same as how you made the first ear. All right. So that looks pretty good to me. I think I want to start my second ear. So again, you got to make sure that you're exiting up top where the ear is going to be. You'll pick up 2 seed beads onto your needle. You're not going to go through the first thread bridge. If you look at it from the top down, the little thread bridge between those beads, you're going to go through the second one, like so. So you're just going under it. Pull your needle. Okay, go back up through that first bead. Okay, now you're going to go back down through this bead right here. Pull. Okay, this is the same technique as before, and go up through this bead again. And the reason you're doing that is so that it sits flat on your beadwork. So, okay, there we go. Now we're going to add 1 more bead. So go under the very next thread bridge over. And pull. Go up through that bead. And pull down. Okay, that first row of 3 beads for that second cat ear is done. Now you pick up 2 more beads. Okay, you don't go through the first thread bridge under it, you go through the second one. So the one you're going to go under is right here. See where that is? Okay, so you're going right under it. Pull through. Go back up through that first bead. Pull. Okay, now go down through the next bead. Okay, and up through that first bead. There you are. Okay, we're ready to add our little ear tip for our kitty cat ear. Okay, so that's just 1 bead. This is the easy one. Just 1 bead. So you're exiting right here. 1 bead, you're going down the bead next to it and the next bead below it. And you're pulling. So now you got 2 little ears. Okay, so now we're just going to do the same as before. We need to work our way over to this section of the band of our peyote where we would have left off originally had we not stopped. So you can go through whatever beads you need to get back there. Okay, we're gonna go up through this one. And up through this one, and then we're gonna be exiting in our correct spot. So there's our little ears. And now we're just gonna continue to bead weave this with peyote stitch for as long as you want your band to be. And when you get close to however long you think you wanna be, you'll try it on your finger. You're gonna wrap it around your finger, and I'll show you that once I've done a little bit more bead weaving to see exactly the size you want, because you're gonna make this custom for you. Or if you're making these for someone else, you can use a mandrel like for a ring sizer. So you're just gonna keep doing your peyote bead weaving, where you're just adding one bead after another and stitching them in place until you make the length of the band that you want. I've beaded some more, and I think this is about the right size for me. It does not matter that your kitty cat ears are off center. That's how we made it. We're actually gonna zip up this peyote so that it's continuous around, so you don't even see the start or the finish. So the way to see if it's the right size is put it on your finger, whatever finger you think you're gonna wear it, and then see if it wraps around and connects. You don't want it so tight that you can't pull it on and off, but that's how you're gonna size it. And then what you need to also do is make sure, because you're gonna zip this up like a zipper, that the ends will align. So if you look here, let me flip this a little bit better. Okay, so you can see that there's one sticking out and one indented on each side, and it's the correct one, so that when you put them together, they look seamless. So you just wanna make sure you end with that. So what we're going to now do is we are going to zip up our ring. You can start by taking off your stopper bead. To do that, you just pull it off. So I just put it between my nails and I pull. Okay, so that is now off. You're going to take your needle and thread. Okay, and we are going to, see a good way to show this, okay? There we are. So you see where my thread is exiting. Don't worry about your other tail right now. And go down the bead on the other side. Okay. Okay, so we made like a nice little loop right there. And we're still kind of in the middle here. So what we need to do is go down the next bead. Just take that out of the camera. Okay. Okay, and pull. And so you're bringing these two sides together. So now, it can be a little hard to see with that extra thread. You need to go to the next bead over. Because you want to make sure you have a thread bridge all connecting all sides. So one thread bridge on each side. Okay, so there we got that little loop. So you see there's that little gap in there. That's what we're shoring up. You pull it. Okay, and now I'm going to go through another bead up top, because again my thread was left in the middle between the two columns. There we go. And then I like to go down a few more rows. I don't like being right where my join was. So there we go. Okay, and now you're going to start needing to tie it off. With just 2 rows of the bead weaving, I found it very difficult to try to tie it off in the middle. And because I did my original kitty cat all in black, the black thread just really disappeared on it. We might see the knot a little bit more on these blue beads versus the black, but I am going to tie a knot on the outer edge, which is something I don't normally do in bead weaving, but because we've only got the 2 rows, it is really difficult to get between them with the needle. So I'm going to go under a thread bridge that's on the side. So you see where let's get this other tail out of the way. Here is where my thread exited with my needle on it. I went to the thread bridge, 1 thread bridge over, and pull, and it made like a little loop. I'm now going to go through that little loop and pull down. And you can see that little knot on the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now take my needle and go into the beads again and see if I can just try to pull that knot flat against the edge. And I'm going to do just a little bit extra weaving to try to disguise where I tied that knot. Okay. Okay. Now you can tie several more knots if you want. If you think you're going to be wearing this a lot and it's going to be coming on and off a lot, you might want to do an extra knot on there. But I'm just going to trim my tail, and the way to do that is I'm just got my thread right coming out the middle there. I'll show you again in case you didn't see it. See, it's just coming out between the two beads. I'm just putting my scissor right against those beads and trimming. Okay, and then what you'll do, you are almost done. You're just going to go back to your tail that you left to begin with. Put your needle back onto it, like so. And now you're going to do the same thing. So you are going to weave it in a little bit. So you're not right where it originally was, where it was originally just the start of your beadwork. Going to go down through a couple rows. Okay, and then you're going to do the same. You're just going to slip that needle under a thread bridge, like so. Pull, you've got your little loop. Go through your loop, pull, so you have a knot. Then weave your needle in a little bit more. Pull tight, you want that knot to try to disappear. And like I said, if you're gonna do a black kitty cat, like what I did with my original project, the knot really does just disappear. It's only because you've got these blue beads, so you see it a little bit more, but it's pretty hidden. All right, so I just tied the one knot and I wove in my thread a little bit beforehand and after the knot. I'm gonna do it a little bit more until I come out the center. And then I'm gonna trim it and my ring is done. So here we go. Just gonna trim that thread. And now we have another little kitty in blue. So I've got the kitty in blue and I have the kitty in black. And those are my little kitty cat earrings. So not earrings, but kitty cat ear rings. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. We do have other tutorials, of course, at beadaholique.com, and you can find all the supplies there as well. Thank you for watching.